stand up for your right. Lord, Lord, get up, stand up. Keep on coming on. Don't give up the fight. Yeah. The sick and tired of the easy. Anytime I come to heaven, be the Jesus. We know
Welcome.
and we understand. Almighty God is a living man. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. So now we see the light. What we gonna stand up for our rights? Yeah, so you better get up, stand up. It's the morning. Give it up, stand up for your rights. Stand up right now. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Don't give it up, don't give it up. Get up, stand up.
How you doing, James?
Stand up for your rights.
Mr. Greg, how are you?
Doing pretty good, man.
I'm happy to be back on the show. You know,
Great seeing you
time,
again, James.
yeah. So, in fact, if it's gonna be 8 o'clock, I'm gonna miss up on it again because usually I'm like in the traffic trying to get home by 8. So that's why I mentioned the issue of 8 o'clock. It's not too good for me. But
Okay.
come on, soon.
The great
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
Well,
I'm good for 9 o'clock. Usually I'm good for 9 o'clock.
all right, pretty good. Let me just welcome everyone. Again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone out there, wherever you are. Welcome to the Citizen Talk Show, where we discuss social, economic, and political issues affecting the lives of Liberians and provide pragmatic solutions to encourage our sitting government to incorporate those they feel expedient. Again, let me take this time to welcome Mr. James Collier, also Mr. Tene Commons Ujara to the show. Mr. Collier, I want to welcome you again, man. Nice seeing you, my brother.
Yeah, like I said, I'm happy to be back on the Citizens Talk. This platform is a unique platform, especially where we look at critical issues affecting the lives of the ordinary young Liberians. The most especially look at issue of transparency, accountability, which is the hallmark of our democratic process. So I just want to say I'm grateful once more to be on the Citizens Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Jala. I want to welcome you again, as always. It's a pleasure, my brother.
Thank you very much, man, for the opportunity. I'm glad once again to be here and to also see my friend, brother James Coyle, who is in the vanguard ensuring that the right thing is done on the ground. Jim, I'm so proud of you, man. Welcome once again.
Yeah. Thank you, Jala. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Internet Citizens of Liberia Network, a media-based humanitarian organization that is focused on amplifying the voices of Liberians at home and in the diaspora. We are also involved in helping to reprogram and renew the minds of Liberians to understand that the growth and economic development of Liberia is squarely on the shoulders of Liberians. Again, we want to welcome you to our audience. You can follow us through our online platform, through Facebook, through our paper, Citizens Talk newspaper, as well as you can catch us on YouTube. Again, we want to say welcome. Gentlemen, this is our topic for the day, putting self-interest over national priority. Why is bribery still a problem in Liberia today? And I'm going to lay a little foundation, very brief and short foundation that I want you guys to pick up from there. But I was reading. I've read a couple of books by Adam Smith a couple of months ago. You know, as a student of economics as well. But in those books that I was reading, he made some analogy that there is a relation between self-interest and success, as well as there's a relation between national interest and success. So, but while it is true that self-interest plays an important role in creating individual success for both the individual and the economy, as acknowledged by the economist Adam Smith. However, he says something in one of his books. Smith actually invoked self-interest as a central to genuine capitalization. When I came across that reading months ago, I was like, wow. But he said also that why it is true that self-interest is central to the genuines of capitalism. He argues in the book that for that he argued also that my computer is running a little low. But he argues that that this thing called self-interest, which is also good for the individual and is good for the economy, has to be constrained. Now, this is where the problem comes in. He said it has to be constrained. Why? He said because if self-interest is not constrained to the extent, if it can be actually very dangerous to the individual himself and also to the economy. Another book that I read months ago was the book that he called The Wealth of Nation. I believe some of you guys may have heard about it and read it as well. And he writes in a book, he said, every man, as long as he does not violate the laws of justice, is left perfectly free to pursue his own interests in his own way and to bring both his industries and his capital into competition with those of any other man. This has to be confirmed with the law. Okay. So he clarified that. He said, hey, listen, it is a good thing for an individual to pursue self-interest in as much as it's in conform with the law. But anything outside the law, if self-interest now become a priority over the national interest, now this way, if there's no constraint, it become a problem. Now you see things of embezzlement, you see things of corruption because now it have past the peak actually of national interest. So I just wanted to insert that into our conversation as we move forward. Bribery is all over. But now we are looking at Liberia specifically. Why is bribery still a problem in Liberia? Why are individuals putting self-interest, which of course is a good thing, but they are putting that now over national priority, national interest? I want to bring Mr. James in on that to just share his highlight, and then Mr. Jada, you can pick up from there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gray, for the foundation of the discussion tonight. But there are a few things we need to look at. Firstly, look at bribery, right? You see, bribery refers to the offering, giving, or soliciting, or receiving any item of value and means of influencing the action of an individual holding a public or legal duty, right? So definitely, if you give in that direction to gain favor or to influence the decision of another person, and we see that is rampant in Liberia today. But I think I want to stick to the topic that talk about putting self-interest above national priority and why bribery is still a problem in Liberia. If we want to take that into context, then we'll look at the different issues. One, we talk about, in Liberia, we often say that the issue of system, there's no system. Because, for example, if I want to access a particular system where the issue of queue is very long, the issue of service delivery is very poor, and there are times we want to curtail all these different delays. And that's where sometimes we see at places where services should be free and also accessible to people who need the services, who experience you have to pay bribe. Like I said, why is there a problem in Liberia? Because our systems are not working. So, for example, you need a passport. Definitely, if you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there should be clear illustration, right? That the different processes leading to obtaining a passport, the numbers of days it takes, things like that. And no days should be added. If you say 5 days, in 5 days' time, I should receive my passport. But if the laws and processes are not open and clear, now you create room for bribery. You create room where people will extort, where the issue of people soliciting bribe, because you don't know the actual time. We currently have a situation where people are willing to pay $5 to obtain the citizen ID card. And according to their own process, it takes a week. It should be within a period of a week to obtain that citizen card. So now it go for months. So now you find out that sometimes maybe, okay, James Coyle need to get money from Western Union, and the bank or the institutions are providing the services are requesting only citizen identification card. And I cannot wait for the week. Even if I go for the week, it's not certain when I will get the card. So at the end, I have to pay bribe to be able to get it in 2 days or 3 days. So in short, in a nutshell, I'm trying to say where structures and systems are not in place, you will find out that bribery will exist. People will try to beat the system. We always don't have good systems in terms of even hospitals where services are free, where people who need a service should access them cannot access those services because they cannot afford to pay bribe. Bribe is a serious problem in Liberia where people that are to provide services that should be free, if you fail to do it, for example, if I'm just going to this particular office on a regular basis, and then I cannot, like people say, buy tobacco water, everybody in that system say, okay, they want to know no more, right? The next time I can, in fact, my documents and things will not be arranged. I will not know. They will say, I'm going to find a paper, in a librarian time because I'm not being able to scratch my hands. And they usually say we have in Liberia that where you tally better go that way we eat. These are some of the problems. These are some of the problems we are facing as a country. And to solve this, to mitigate some of these challenges, or I refer to as problems, is very imperative that we have good systems in place. These systems will help to curtail bribery. These systems will curtail the issue of corruption. So we need to be clear and definite on services because usually people pay bribery or people pay bribe for services most often. And if these services that should be free sometimes are not accessible, then we have a problem. So I just want to say for me in Liberia, to learn on this, the issue of system, the issue of services, they are not coming forth, especially where people need to access these services and these services are not available. Currently, we have situation in country where hospitals are overwhelmed. COVID-19 issue is, is a serious threat now in the country again. Only because we are still investigating that we have foreigners coming in the country and they're not properly screened. We were told that they pay, just pay money and came in the country. And people are coming from countries that were in they have different screen of the coronavirus. They were at the peak of their coronavirus and coming in the country, there was no measure put in place. And government institution collecting money was only concerned about those fees being collected, but not concerned about the well-being of the Liberian people. So, for example, there was no control and system in place to ensure that those coming from countries that is highly affected or hit by coronavirus should be quarantined by the government herself. But rather, these people are left alone to go into self quarantine. And definitely, if you come and nobody is holding you, you move about your normal businesses, right? So these are some of the challenges, and bribery is a serious problem. And today we are contemplating on, we're being told that health authorities, the government is going to put it on lockdown. Currently, we are in a complete state of health emergency. The Ministry of Health are announced new protocols and tough measures. You cannot drive now with all your marks on. Police are in the street. Checkpoints are being erected, and because of someone not doing the work. So we are in a situation where people need to do their work. Services should be provided where they are needed and mostly accessible. And with these things put in place, I think we can reduce the issue of bribery in our society. I think I can land on this for now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Koya. Mr. Jala, I'm going to bring you on, but Mr. Koya stressed on a couple of things. He mentioned about the current pandemic crisis in Liberia, and the number is escalating. And I wanted to just say something. When I see things like this happening, we saw what happened during the Ebola pandemic. We saw how that stretched our system beyond measure. It showed how weak the system was, and you would think that there were a lot of resources put into the country to help strengthen our system. And now we are faced with a crisis again, and it is exposing again our limitation. But I'm going to bring that back to what you said. I was in Liberia for a couple of years, and I realized that when I even went to the to the bank, for example, if I went to a bank to get money out of the bank. Like you said, what the belligo is taxed, what the belligo is supposed to eat, which is true. But that doesn't mean that it has to eat through other illegal means, right? It means they have to be paid a wage that can sustain the person, right? This is where they eat from because now the institution pay them a salary that commensurate with the standard of living. That is something also missing. So it tells you that there's a system mechanism that is lacking into our labor structure that any employer can come inside to pay anybody any wage, even though if that hourly wage is below living condition. You know what I'm saying? So it causes for that problem. Also, for Mr. Jennifer, I bring you on in scripture, I believe it was Matthew chapter 25. The 12 disciples have the issue about who is the greatest, right? And they were arguing over that, and Christ heard them talking about that. And he said, listen, he called into a scene. They say, if you want to be great, you have to be a servant. You got to serve everyone. We're talking about selfish, we talk about self-interest over national interest. When we appoint or when we elect our officials in government, we elect them to serve us, right? But now when you see individual putting themselves over national priority, it means they want to be served. They don't want to serve the people. It is not lawmaker responsibility, for example, to build roads and bridges. It is their responsibility to craft law and policy in place that will create an avenue for these things, like you mentioned, the hospitals to come through so that the people can benefit. But these things are not happening. Mr. Jada, I want to bring you on this. Putting self-interest over national interest. This is a serious issue. Why is bribery still a problem in Liberia today? Are we going to overcome this? And if we are, what needs to be done?
Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Gray, and thank you, Mr. Koyon, for your points. Your points are well placed. The issue that has to do with compromise in government operations that Mr. Koyon just highlighted, they are just a symptom of a problem that we need to address here tonight. For me, Mr. Gray, most of the time when I want to find solution to problems or people action, I tend to look at the intent. You guys just alluded to a regular Liberian slogan that say, where you tie the goat is where the goat eat. But have we asked ourselves, why is the goat tied? We have not been able to ask, why is the goat being tied? Like Mr. Koyon said, our whole country is plastered with inaccuracy from the very inception of that nation. Liberia should have been bigger than Nigeria, but it was bribery and compromise that sold our land to the French and the English Anglophone that make our country small as it is. The American Liberians that came in our country, they set the basis for everything we are today fighting against. This brings me to say the revolution that brought Liberia into a bloodshed for over 20 years. I don't think Liberians have learned from that revolution. I don't think we've learned anything so far, because we still keep doing the same thing that brought us where we are. And I will bring this to your attention, Mr. Gray. You would agree with me that if a government, any government that don't want its citizen to steal, will put in some measure that will protect the citizen and protect government resources. Most government civil servants don't have a decent retirement. Let put space where it is. These people pay themselves on the job. That's their retirement to take off the job. How can you run a country? People get their services to the country, and then at the end of the day, when they walk out of the position, they got nothing to show for their time they spend. Government official will die and don't have former government official die. Look at Jiggy Scott. Whatever the story was about their life, But in as much they serve the country, they should be given some dignified burial. My father, all his life, he worked for government. He worked for the rural development. He worked for LEC. He worked for the Liberian Water and Sewer. My father did not walk away with any decent retirement package. Mr. Coyle and I worked at the Ministry of Finance together in the early 2000s during Manaseli regime. We used to see right in front of our office there, witness the pity of older folks who worked for government before that are in ailing conditions, struggling to go and take just $10 US equivalent as an retirement package. Some of the things don't even meet their health needs. I think it's about time that this generation will wake up to some of the reality. Instead of us just speaking to the symptoms, let's deal with the issue from the problem. We need to have a government that will provide decent retirement package for civil servants. If we say we don't want you to steal, we get the reason why. Now look, if you work here, if you serve your people from this time to this time, after 25 years, these are things the country will do for you. These are things the country is going to do for you. It's our government providing better retirement incentive for their civil servant, for those who serve the country. Mr. Coyle, do you have any idea of that? Absolutely no. This is to prove to you how rotten our system is. This system is rotten as far as you and myself can even contemplate. Number one, in Liberia, in order for you to be anybody in our country, you must be associated with a group or to some kind of name that has authority. There's no merit in that society. There's no merit. So everybody see it like, oh, somebody will just get into government today, and all of a sudden you see him bidding a $250,000 house. How do you expect the ordinary man on the street there who sit at the passport session, who going to work for 25 years or retirement? You think he would, when you come there, you say, oh, Mr. Coyle, give me $5 for on the table for your passport. You think he's doing it because, like we said, self-interest over national priority. Self-interest. Because if you can protect the interests of those that serve you, they protected themselves. They protected through bribery, through other means. Our society needs to come to the realization that unless we aspire to national wealth, the individual wealth, because national wealth will call for number one, if I can get a car to drive to take me from point A to point B, I think my neighbor around me should get one car too, even if it's not at the same cost. If I can get food to eat surplus, I think nobody around me should be hungry. But if we close our eye to these realities in our society and think that we should hold people responsible, and at the same time they are responsible for their own survival, no, you know that doesn't work here in America. In America, human being, let me tell you, I told somebody something when I said, nobody was born wicked. You know what? So they said they born a baby wicked. We are the one that can create the image of the devil by our encounter with life. We need to come to the realization that we need to look at other people as human and get humanity in ourselves. Now when life is good for you, and then you look at another man, you see the man as a zogo. You don't care to know why he's a zogo. The man is taking drugs, he's doing that. Or you see people going through terrible situation. Or you think, oh, the person deserves it. You don't even tend to come to the realization to say, maybe their situation against this person. Maybe if things were placed in the right position, the person could do better. Every citizen in our country has something to offer to the growth and development of our country. We got to see it that way. We got to see it that way. Now, you will realize in recent time, from generation past to current generation, people feel that when they take state power, that they are time to enjoy. They feel that when they take state power, they are time to enjoy. The same thing happened to Manasari. So that unity party government, so everybody must be unity party in order for them to enjoy the country. It happened now for the CDC government. So everybody must be CDC for them to enjoy the country. We don't run a country like that, Mr. Gray. You will not get any society advancing. You will not get any society that will be free of bribery and all kind of petty compromises when you have cliche still in the making. We need to see all people as equal. We need to see the inhumanity in every human being, because, Mr. Gray, even if they cut my skin here, the blood that flow from here, it will be red, just how the blood that will flow from the blood that will flow from a Muslim man, the blood that will flow from a Christian, the blood that will flow from everybody in that country. All of that red blood that flowing through our veins, there's nothing different for each and every one of us. So there should be no reason why we should not look at the problem to address it from the root. The problem is we need a national retreat for us to sit down and identify our problems and look within ourselves and see where we can start solving it from. The solution to our problem is not with the IMF. It's not with the World Bank. It's not with any foreign partner. The solution is right within Liberia there. The solution is to get rid of greed. The solution is that we need leaders that we one mistake, and Mr. Koyan, as we advance in the conversation, we will expand our thoughts. Because one thing I want to know is that Dr. Obama family make a recommendation once. They said, I think it's about time for us to have a kind of a medical checkup, psychiatric checkup for those who put into leadership, because their decision does not really represent the decision of leaders. We need to check whether the people are leading or they are mentally okay, whether they are sound, because no sound person will take authority to make people's life better and pass and be in the midst of the people and see their life being deplorable and still feel good. There should be a problem with these people.
Mr. Jala.
There should be some problem. I think we need to do psychological checks on our leaders, on those who want to vote in the office. Because I don't think the decision to make sure that they are rational enough. No.
Mr. Jala.
This generation, we need to make some demands. Mr. Grady, you want to come? I got a lot to say, but I don't want to sustain.
Let me just jump and say something, and I'll bring Mr. Koya into the chime in. We're gonna have this is a frank conversation we're having, gentlemen. So I want you guys to relax and let's have this conversation. Let's have an open talk. Let's talk about this, because this is an old issue. You know, you mentioned a couple of stuff. I think in our last segment we talked about like I said. Let me just go back. Let me not rush on this. I mentioned about Adam Smith saying that if the self-interest has to be constrained, right? And it's one of the law that constrain self-interest. We are seeing the issue of bribery. We are seeing the issue of corruption. We are seeing people taking money that don't belong to them, belong to the Liberian people, and we are seeing them gone with impunity. The last time we talked about why is our country a country of impunity. We let people just do things and they go free. This has been a systematic thing going on. That is why we are a strong advocate of the war crime and economic crime court, because we realize that the system that is in place is not deterring would-be violator of such economic crime. So we are saying maybe we are not capable enough with all of the laws on the book to implement the laws and bring people who are accused to have that day in court. So we are advocating for a war crime, economic crime court. Now, you said something, James. I'm going to bring you on this. You said a lot of stuff, Mr. Jala. I'm trying to just compile it together, and saying we have a justice system, but you and I know that there are a lot of crimes that have taken place in our country, and we see no head, nothing. We saw people murder. We wake up in the morning, we saw dead body of individual in the street. They come to do autopsy and they say, oh, the person died from this and that. There's no actual findings on these things. So it tells you there is a problem with our justice system. So if the system has a problem, the justice system has a problem, it cannot provide justice to the citizen that it serves. So that is why we are saying the government now cannot provide justice for its citizens. We probably need an economic crime court now. Because we can go through the war crime and do whatever the case may be, but economic crime is more dangerous as war crime because resources that does not belong to you but belong to the country, that is more dangerous. It means you are striving other people from benefiting from the resources. So why is this happening? Do we need to revamp our laws? Or the laws are there. It's just that individual minds are corrupt. So maybe we need international partner to step in the kind of stuff, James. I don't know what your take on this. It's frustrating.
Yes. Thanks again. Like we really put it, there's no country with a very weak justice system can progress. We have noticed in recent days and weeks, as it relates to mob violence, we saw it in the southeast, precisely in Maryland County and Greenville County as well, where we found citizens taking the laws into their own hands because they don't trust the justice system. They don't believe in the rule of law anymore because those who are to dispense justice are not proactive. They are not providing the rightful justice services to our people. So you find out that citizens have resolved that they will take matters into their own hands. So, for example, you talk about finding bodies on the streets, police contaminated the crime scenes. It came up a report that was condemned by the public. We found out that people protested for three missing boys involving St. Moses. It ended on deaf ears. Police, the government took no actions. So when these things happen, right, on a constant basis, now in Liberia, we all know this saying that things happen in Liberia and people only talk for 3 days. And after that, everyone go back to their normal businesses. I have to say nothing have happened. And that is why the country it is the way it is. Because things happen and no one is accountable. Let me just go back to when I talk about the issue of although we have not confirmed that, but allegedly, people, as a health authority allowed people from India, some Indian citizens to come in the country in large numbers and currently having increased cases of COVID-19. Up to now, there's no one being here accountable in any civil society, but now maybe the health minister should have been sacked or whosoever responsible, the health minister should sack that person. There's no one taking responsibility. So things happen in the country and no one take responsibility, right? So a country where people are not accountable, that's why we see things the way it is. Things happen and no one act. We talk about what judicial system, bribery is something that is normal in the system, and we see bribery as a way of life. So even you in a taxi cab and you are pulled over by police, everybody in the car says, "Mama, you know what they don't do," right? Telling you give him money for no reason. He have not pressed any charges. He have not said anything. But everyone in the vehicle be telling you, driver, you know what to do. Is giving some money is a way of life in Liberia. Is something that we see as normal. And these things are not normal. There is no society will progress the way in which the trajectory Liberia is on, and we expect to see changes. So this is not about we talk about development. It's not about the type of hard development we want. It's about the infrastructure we want. But it's about the mindset, the way we think, the way we do things. And we always say this that we have the white man, the black man, the Liberian man. Things that right now we are experiencing a very high congestion of traffic. Right? There is no road. So people we refer to as lawmakers who's supposed to be drafting the policy direction of this country sit down and say the passing law establishing 10 lane. The opposite lane, they're giving themselves right to drive on the opposite lane. Because the road is not There's no space again anymore. They need to drive freely to come to work. So they go into section. So they are not thinking to call the Ministry of the Minister of Public Works to come and tell us what are mechanisms be put in place. How are we thinking innovation in the next 2-3 years? What is the possibility of getting new roads, new lane, exit routes? They are not thinking in that direction, but rather telling us that they need to drive on the opposite lane.
So that tell me if that were to ever happen, it means it is a law passed to suit them and not the people that elected them there.
So come with the self-interest now. Wow. Right? So they're not passing law that would benefit the majority of the Liberian people. The interest now is one national priority. So you have rules that only 2 cars go, 2 cars come. You say no. 6 in the morning, the traffic leave from Prince come towards town. You have to get off the opposite lane that will ride on. And that law will pass on close. Nobody knew that law until the head of Front Page Africa. I think he came in confrontation with I think the Justice Minister or the Chief Justice, someone like that, and that law came out. Wow. The Chief Justice, the lawmakers, these are people that benefit from the party telling. Where the telling? Opposite lane. So things happen. There are times, Mamalu, to even drive in a street is something looking crazy. There's no structure. Everybody just doing their own thing, So, to just backtrack back on the topic, like I said, when I was laying my foundation, that until we have systems that will serve the interests of the people, system that will value the services of the people that are providing services to the system, we as a country, as a people, we are not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
Mr. Gray, let me
I'm going to bring it in quickly. You said system, right? System in place. Now, who brings system? The leaders, right? The people that's
the point I'm trying to make. Mr. Gray, let's stay within the topic, because this topic does not negate the fact that those problems that you guys are speaking of, those problems are older than you and I. They're older than you and I. Our country is 170 some more years, 73, 74 years old. These things exist. We have people who took over the country, the former country, and they only had Liberia in Monrovia. They didn't think about the other part of the country, small country as it is. So it's not about all the things we're talking about. The why behind these things is what we should be looking at. The why. The why is it that all these things are going on in the country? Why? And sometimes when I see the complaint, when I hear the complaint, I tend to say, I think the problem is leadership. The problem is leadership. And let me tell you what I really aspire to. I aspire to a society where we will not be interested in individual for us to have a society that will offer a good place for individuals. We want a society that will offer a good place for everybody. And that can be driven by leaders. Now you talk about justice, you talk about this, you talk about rule of law, you talk about that. All the things you're talking about, when you put a leader into place that will set the example, my man, you don't expect the ordinary people to go by the laws when those who set the law violating the law. You don't expect that. You don't expect to have. You think to be a leader is to wear high suit and be dressing fine and ride big car and passing around. You gotta be a strategist. You gotta understand the dynamics of the people you're leading. Liberia is a complex society. Don't see as small as it is. The actors in the Liberian society, you gotta understand them, what they want, what they need, what are they aspiring to, before you be able to deal with the problem that confront them. You think you're young? Let me tell you something. Any government, any leader, you can't take a hard action on one group of people in our country or one segment of the society. At the end of the day, you have a problem. You have a problem. I think a leader needs to set example on himself. We need a leader that is righteous. We can have a system in place where a who know you system, and you expect for people to do the right thing. You get a system that is not merit-based, and then you expect people to do the right thing. A system that is compromised with a lot of inaccuracy. Then you expect for a tested driver to be the one to correct that? Who do you expect to make things right in our country? It's leadership. Sometimes, Mr. Gray, I said, look, that we need to, some of their generation will forget about getting $1 million in your account, doing this, and run for the presidency and put your argument. And put your argument for. We can run for the presidency and put our argument for and tell the people what we want for our country. Because let me tell you something. Our people have not come to the realization that they need to point to the future they want for their leaders. They expect their leaders to show them the future. But unfortunately, they put people in power that don't even know where they themselves want to go. Wow. So what you make a sheep the leader for an army of lion. An army of sheep that is headed by a lion is more powerful than an army of lion headed by a sheep. Because the leader is the face of the people. The leader must have an objective of what he wants through the understanding of the dynamics of the society he wants to run. We have a complex society. Can you imagine our civil war? You know how much warring faction came into that country? We have LUR, we have Model, we have LPC, we have MPF, you can see the complexity of our society, the interests that have been demanded. That shows that before you lead, you must understand the actors on the ground. You must understand their needs. You can just jump out today and say, look at, you got senators, you got representatives who will take the tail in. Who would think say they can violate the law and expect the common man to order? No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You must be able as a leader to set the example. Let's start working with you. All the bribery and things, there are a lot of bribery going on at the top. Because Mr. Cohen, you won't want to see the ordinary man. If we got a righteous leader who is endowed with strategies on solving the Liberian problem, who is selfless person, who doesn't want to, I can always tell people, why are you carrying all of these money you're stealing? Why are you carrying them? Let me just say one thing. I'm not saying that the person stole. Jordan Doe Sherry, just a simple example. She was a senator for almost how many years? 18 years? Go check all the resources she acquired from over there. Everything Jordan Doe get now is lying into room. The same thing happened to the late president William Aratoba. All the investment he put into Lofa County has been abandoned. As a leader, you don't care about yourself. What you care about is what will people say about you when you leave the scene. When you leave the scene, will people say a lot of positive things about you, or they will say negative things about you? That's what our leaders should be concerned about. Not self-interest. And we have a country that is running on self-interest. And this is the image. This is the publicity our leaders made for the ordinary people. Look at those guys who just take power, our brothers who just take power. These people were all around the place there and hustling. Today, you see them, their life has changed within a second. And Mr. Boyle, you want the tested drivers. Look, my brother, this generation, we need to stand up for one thing, that government job is not a place to go and get rich. If you want to get rich, and I'm going to discuss this on the Pinko show, you want to get money, demand your government to empower the private sector and go do business and become a millionaire. If you go into government, it's a service job. It's a retirement job. The only thing that should be waiting for you is for the system to take care of you after you leave. but it shouldn't be a place to go get money. And this is the picture of our leaders show. The reason the political climate is so tense in Liberia because the government is the higher employer. The government is where the money is. So everybody see the government as a place to go and get money. Look at Nigeria. Some of the richest people in Nigeria are just business people. They don't work for government. Most of the rich people in Nigeria, even in Ghana, these are people that got their wealth from the private sector. And our generation should be demanding that we will not be interested in always calling for investors. We want Liberians' business to partner with investors. We got to empower the private sector so that our people will be financially capable. So they will turn their back on public services. Then from there, we can make public service to be attractive by the retirement incentive we provide for our people who serve. But if we don't deal with this problem and we want to hold the people responsible for what they do, this is not a fair thing. Because survival is the first thing that anybody will fight for in a situation like Liberia. I don't blame the people. I don't blame all the things that go wrong, because when the people sit and understand what is going on by the leaders, because our Liberian leadership is something like, once you can dress, now they got the proper suit and the riding car. They're passing all around the place. They feed that the leader, that's leadership. You think that's what they call leadership? You'll be doing that, and the people's life continue to go down. The neighbor living right by you there, he see you every day driving in the money that you get back from their name, the resource of the country, in their name. Liberian people resources shouldn't be a curse for them. God gave them the resource to be a blessing for them. But we got leaders who making it to be a curse. And this is a matter of survival. Our people are struggling to survive. And even if it cause them to bribe, they will bribe. I think what we should be looking at, this generation, our generation, we should be ensuring that the next time we go to election, we should put somebody there that is in a position to set a righteous example for the rest of the people to follow. Because when the head is straight, the body is bound to be right. But we can keep blaming the ordinary people who are going through all the struggle for the kind of system. You think why the leaders can't come down? How? You think why justice can be prevailed? Because the people who supposed to institute justice are not even standing the ground to do so. They don't have the moral ground to do so. How will they bring about justice? They won't. Because they are not righteous leaders. Greed. So we need to ensure we launch a campaign in this generation. We want every Liberian to be inclusive in their governance. We want a system that will provide opportunity for everybody on the basis of merit. How hard you work, that's the dividend you're going to have. We can't have a society where somebody will yell because he support a party, he went and raised battle cry, and all of a sudden they get some need them from picking them from LU. They made an assistant minister. People don't know, no vision of what they want to do for themselves. I just passed an interview sitting down here today. Just because when in America we say for an interview, they're not going to ask you a multiple question. They want to know what you bringing on the table. What you bringing on the table to do their job.
Absolutely.
What you bringing? You got people putting them into office. They got nothing to bring on the table. And then you see people who graduate from college. Some of them driving a taxi. You think they're happy to be driving taxi when they can offer more to their country? They are frustrated. You give them a chance today to say, I'm going to sell Liberia. They will be the first people. Look, let me tell you something. In any society, when you got plenty of deprived people, they are the ones you got to be careful with. Because at the end of the day, they are the one that can destabilize the government. They are the one that can make the government unpopular. Our attention should be the next election. Our attention should be who we're going to give the country to again. And what will be our yardstick? Because the leader will drive every other thing. That's my point. And for us to look at, and let's look at the topic in totality, because self-interest is driven by something. And national interest, national priority is also driven by something. Are we as Liberians, do we want to sit down here and say, when you call yourself a Liberian, do you want to stay among people? As long as we're a Liberian, you're proud to stay and say you're a Liberian? Do you want to be proud to be a Liberian? Everybody where you go like Americans are? You know what it means to do that? It has to do with national wealth. Everybody being having something to contribute towards the dignity of the society. That's
Yeah.
how it works. But it doesn't work the way we think by pointing finger to people. People doing things for reasons, Mr. Koyo. I beg to respectfully put to you guys that what is happening in our country is older than what you and I think. And I think we should address it from the root instead of looking at the symptoms that continue to show out there.
Uh, I agree. I agree. And that's, you said, address the issue from the root and not from the symptoms.
Of
And
course.
sometimes I struggle, gentlemen, I struggle sometimes to get my head around things that I see happening, right? Especially, James, you're talking about the pass of the law to for lawmakers to take the third lane. The issue there, the problem there was traffic congestion, uh, lack of road navigation, open road, good road network. That was the root cause, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sitting over here now hearing this from you that they said we don't want to address that. We just want to get to work at any cost.
Yeah.
So let's forget about calling on the popular world to see what best they can do, or crafting laws that will help to expand the lane or whatever the case. No, we're not interested in that. We just want to get to work. That is something, man, Barkley. John, you said something now. I gotta allude to this. I think the 20 years of civil war, gentlemen, I gotta say this. I've said this before. The 20 years of civil unrest in our country uh, have created a lot of traumatization in our society. It have affected a lot of people. There are a lot of people walking in suit who have psychological issues. You know what I'm saying? Nothing of such has been dealt with. People saw their parents being murdered. People saw their kids being pulled from their belly. Different things happen, and this is the older society I see that say everything is normal. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because if you see a group of people who's supposed to help fix a problem, address a root cause, saying we don't want to address it, we want to go around it for ourselves, it means our leaders, like you said, Mr. Jada, we have to go into the place where we test their psychological mindset. Their IQ to know how you thinking. Are you one of those who are impacted by the civil unrest? That's why we see this thing happening. So a lot of people we have who are representing our people have the issues. That is why they are doing the kind of thing, because no normal person in their mindset, Mr. Koya, no normal person in their mindset will see traffic congestion and say, I don't want to do nothing with that. I just want to get to work. So if I'll buy a chopper, I'll just buy a chopper and fly from point A to my work. I don't care. There is something wrong with that picture. I can't put my head around it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's the situation in Liberia. In a
Absolutely. Because Mr. Collins is having some technical challenge, but why he taking the comments agree? What I want to point out before Mr. Collins coming is the Mr. Collins, you just had a break, so yeah, you can
yeah,
continue.
yeah,
I was just about to say something.
yeah. So I think like we all have said the same thing. Leadership is a problem for this country, and until the people act right, like Jada talked about how we let our next leaders is something that is very crucial. And the country is divided. Some people will tell you that I'm a born PYC party. I'm a born RPU party too, right? To tell you that they don't just care. Some will tell you that the only thing I've achieved is to ensure that I make this person president. Whether or not they perform, they provide the needed leadership to ensure that Liberia move to another step. They don't just care. All they concerned about is that we support this side, and you support the other side. We want. So now in Liberia, we even notice that people are supporting their own, what we refer to as their own thieves. So if you are from party A and even your partisan is involved into corruption, you support it. There's nothing wrong. But then you criticize party B on a person And then Party B will also protect their own teeth. We have seen that at the national level, where, for example, you have Liberty Party electing Hassan Musa Hassan Belete as the chairperson, someone that have been banned from FIFA activities because of corruption. But then Liberty Party, nothing wrong with that. Senator Darrell, they don't see nothing wrong with that. But then he also criticized people within the ruling establishment, CDC, for corruption. And CDC will see nothing wrong with that. Their own people are also correct. So you look at Liberty Party, they have issues too. They bring their own person on board, and nothing wrong with their own person. So it's just we are in a visual cycle. We're in a cycle that we cannot get out. It's terrible for this country. But until we have a cautious a group of people, our citizenry, who understands their civic responsibility, I think me and Jala have an off-record discussion, and sometimes I always say that issuing press statement, sitting on the radio, discussing issues. Sometimes for me, I resolve that this thing not going to work until the people themselves act. Sometimes I think we have reached to the level. I think that's the only way. For example, a few weeks ago, let's say last week, precisely last week, I was on the radio on the issue with this leeches. Leeches is responsible to conduct census. And since the last census was in 2008, and since the last census, leeches was to conduct census in 2018 under the CDC-led administration. And they just failed to conduct the census in 2018. They postponed it to 2019. 2019, no, the census could not hold. It was pushed to 2020, it could not hold. We're in 2021 again, and they are also trying to postpone the issue of the counting. And when we decided to follow up with these issues in 2019, when the then head of the census coordinator, who is the deputy director general for statistics and data processing, he resigned, citing some issues. So we started to follow that very closely until recently when the head of legislation appeared before the Liberia Senate, and he lied on an oath that he transferred $1 million to UNFPA. We took civil exception to that, and we appeared on one of the largest platform in the country, the OKFM morning show, and we provided documentary evidence and disprove him. And currently, the Liberian Senate have requested an audit of a portion of the money that was squandered, 300,000, and today we're gonna have census, and no one is seeing the relevance, the vital nature of census, right? Now all our development projections are being placed on expired data that are not relevant anymore, that is outdated, and we have someone that is incompetent, someone who cannot carry out the census, someone who have mismanaged funding, and government is not taking action. Sometimes the lackadaisical nature of the way in which we handle things, how critical, very important, the issue of statistical data is relevant to our development growth. No one's saying that. Up to now, government is still projecting based on 2008 census report. We are going over 10 years, close to 12 years, right? So good for us. We raised these issues, and the Senate have officially communicated to conduct through the Public Accounts and Audit Committee to
Yeah, I think we lost Mr. Kyle, but Mr. Jada, I want to say this. You know what I'm saying? Just listening to the conversation, we agree. I think
from
we have
the
leadership.
leadership of leaders. So we hope that in the next few days there will be serious advocacy. We hope at the level of the coalition to issue a statement, hopefully by tomorrow, welcoming the position of the Liberian Senate, especially the Committee on Public Accounts and Audit. We have an eye following up with that process to ensure that the process is transparent, and those who have squandered resources for this very important process can be held accountable. So I just wanted to flip that through. It's a serious situation, because we cannot make no projection. We don't have accurate data, right? Country that have data that is outdated cannot use it for projections. But no one is saying that how critical important that is. Country just postponing census, or COVID-19, or the other problem, or the other problem. When in fact you violated the PBCC law, you violated the PFM law, you violated the act establishing the institutional leges. These are critical issues we raised, and we hope that actions can be taken. But like we have said, things happen in this country, and people feel they are aligned based on political parties, they are aligned based on personal interest, they are aligned based on tribal background. With these issues, the country is not going anywhere, right?
Before you come in to add to your notes, there are two things I want us to consider in mind. That these problems that we continue to highlight, as key as they are, and for Mr. Koyon to also understand that the radio appearances, those information you continue to provide to the public, I think if we look at it in another way, whereby we can conscious start our people, because they are the employer, our
Yeah,
people, they are the employer, and make them understand that look, in as much you continue to elect the wrong people, you will face the consequences. That's as simple as it is. So,
yeah.
the
So,
second
Chala, I'm
thing
not
is
cutting you off,
the
right?
second thing before I forgot my second point.
Okay, go
The
ahead.
second thing is I believe the Liberian people are good people. They will react good if you treat them right. Every human being around the world, if you treat them with dignity, they will respond with dignity. But if you treat them as such subhuman, they will behave as such. So these 2 points, as we go on the media, because the media is important to educate our people. Because look, Mr. Gray, let's forget about Mr. Koyon. The government will keep talking to the government. They will not do anything because their mindset is as corrupt as anything. But if Mr. Gray and I, we have a work to do. And that's why we don't call big names on our platform. We don't call government official on this platform. Because we know they need help too as well. They need help. They need help. This platform is a citizen talk platform. We are aspiring to building a new society through the media. A society that will create an environment that will be good for all, not for a few. This is a society we aspire for. So my passionate appeal to you, if we can focus on the employer than the employee, I think we'll get better results as we move on with this advocacy.
Yeah, Jala, before Mr. Gray comes in, I think it's a whole different, I would refer to it as a whole different issue, especially how we get citizens to get conscious, citizens to know their civic duties and responsibilities. It's a whole different thing. But our engagement now focuses on what we refer to as current events. As they come up, we have to erect the necessary checkpoint. We have to raise the red flag. That's what we have been doing. Like you talk about consulting citizens is something that we can plan to do, but we can work on it. Have a whole different idea in terms of how we build a new generation of citizens who
Absolutely
are active participants of the governance process, people who understand the democratic structures and responsibilities. I think with that, we can start to work on that going towards 2023. But there are issues happening that we cannot sit and say, let's just educate the people to wait for 2022 to change.
No, I
Some
agree.
of those require the
I agree
necessary.
on that.
I just want to flag that, Mr. Gray.
Yeah. Couple of things. I think I agree with you guys. Our people are gullible. From the last elections, if you guys recall very well, the absentee ballots I think was very high If you got James, you remember that. It's very, the absolute balance were very high. It tells us something. It tells us
We disagree.
Invalid or
the
absolute?
Yeah,
invalid.
we don't have absolute balance in
Yeah,
Liberia.
Sorry,
invalid, right?
sorry. I'm going to say the invalid. I'm sorry. I'm following the US trend. The invalid balance was very. The number was very, very high. It tells you the lack of not just sensitization or education, but the lack of understanding of how you look at it in terms of the literacy rate. You know what I'm saying? That plays into our people being gullible. These guys don't want our people to know their left hand from their right hand. So they continue to use that trend to say, hey, we'll keep you at bay and then we will do what we want to do. So I think, James, while we address current event, it is also important that we start something that we as a grassroots to help enhance or create a kind of capacity building of what a citizen is, civic education. Those things have been taken out of school. Those things need to be put back in school. You know what I'm saying? Civic education is so much important because if a man doesn't know his civic responsibility and he become your leader, what do you think he gonna do?
Yeah, so Mr. Gray, let me just hold you right there when it comes to if we are thinking that we'll wait until we start to teach civics in our schools again before action is taken, then I think we'll not achieve that. I think we should look at it even outside our schools. How do we work with the current generation to ensure that they understand the basic features of our democratic processes, especially when their interest is at stake, looking at promoting the rule of law. Because, mind you, these are people that they use, oh, they cheat me in the election, let go protest. Hey, no, let go demonstrate, let go do this. So if we can start to, like I said, build a new generation of young leaders who will understand their rights and to know when it's at stake, to be able to know the different features of a political system, and they can actively participate in our political processes, understanding how to choose their leaders, and telling them that because yes, the issue, most of our leaders, especially let me just look at, yeah, most of our political leaders, everyone will come to the limelight through humanitarian gestures, start to help in the communities. I will give scholarship, I will build community toilets. These are issues that we should not be discussing as a country that is over 170 plus years old. But they do these things and make people understand that if you get me there, I will do more. And then they get to the legislature and now they say, no, I have three cardinal functions. It's law making, oversight, and representation, right? So the whole thing changed. Now we are seeing them pushing for another function that talks of project implementation. Today they got 15,000 each. So they want to carry on community engagement. That's something that is not their cardinal function. We know that very well. So our people need to know these things. That no one should come and tell you, vote for me, I will build you school. No one, because it's not their responsibility and function, right? So they use these things because our people are not educated because you have been giving them handouts, and they use that to campaign on that. And then at the end, our people get frustrated because they will not be able to
They
even
can't
see
understand
them.
something.
Yes, something else. So our people need to know that those that will be saying that they are lying, our people need to know that people they need in the legislature are people that will advocate for good laws and policies that will drive in terms of providing the basic livelihood for our people. So these are critical issues, and I think we can work together on that in terms of educating our people, in terms of how they elect people's
Yeah.
represent them at
And so,
the
and
democratic
so,
process.
Mr. Koyon, just to get you on this before you leave on this particular point, like we're having some background conversation on a couple of engagement that we want to get going. And like you said, you are currently only focused on current events that goes on in the country. Uh, and to understand, you want to elevate it not just about talking, but to demand people action. And
Yeah.
I think people action can really be effective at the ballot box. That's what I believe. People action can really be effective at the ballot box.
No,
Most of the
Thomasu,
time,
Thomasu,
yeah.
let me just read there. So we want to know that, okay, there's clear allegations and it's been proven through different other reports that John Brown, right, embezzled, or let's say I'll use the word, he stole X amount of resources, financial resources from a particular institution. For example, in the case of Leches, if it is proven through financial investigative audit that proves that money was mismanaged, and the citizen saying, okay, send this particular person have mismanaged the money, they cannot continue to head this institution. And the person responsible to act in that direction to have that person sacked or replaced is reneging on his responsibility to take that action. Is where the West citizen comes in. That does not require us waiting for elections,
Okay,
right?
so let me. I got your point. So now, there are a lot of situations in the country where money was embezzled and was proven. It was proven. There are a lot of demonstrations that went on in the country. The question I have to give you: are you aware that there have been so many people action as well? Have any of the action yielded any dividend in your mind? You can show me one of them.
Yeah, Jala, most of the actions are taken by, I would say, or backed by politicians. And if people try to see that it's being politically motivated, then those in action, those in positions, will take another posture. It's like us versus them. Well, I can tell you, for example, I led a campaign with the issue of the former head of the LACC,
Mhm.
Namadige, Munibusi Namadige, and everyone saw it was something that was sincere. And it's not just waking up one day and say we're going to take people action, or rather engaging in different processes leading to that action, raising the red flag, getting the people to understand what they need, and embarrassing that particular institution, right? So it's something that we are not going to say we're going to present petition. We are not going to say that we're going to do this. It's something that's going to be consistent. It's something that we were going to work with communities across
Okay.
different districts to ensure that
David,
our
David,
actions
I
are
got a
used.
question for him before you go. Now you're saying that you're going to work with all the communities to get the people action effective. My concern is this, Mr. Koyon. We're going to have a war and economic crime code. You are aware of 25 million mop up action that money was given to to money changer on the street.
Yeah.
You know about that. Can your movement institute of people action that will restitute that money?
Good. So what I can share with you tonight is that recently we part of the count when we call for the removal of any Busi number DK at the LCC. Part of our count was the issue of the making public the fundings from the LCC. Mind you, in June of 2019, there was an audit conducted on that particular 25 million mobile SSX, and the audit report was forwarded by the Ministry of Justice to the LCC to come up with the issue of corruption into that, but because there was some irregularities, but usually the auditors will not be clear to take John Brown's true or extra, but will say irregularities. So LCC was charged with that responsibility in June of 2019, and we have that engagement with LCC of the 2019. So I'm saying this to say that part of our counts to have A. Nibusi Namadiga removed from the LCC because he failed to publish that report. And just a few weeks back, I think if you follow up in our letter to the LCC requesting the services of the LCC to investigate the current head of the EPA, who is the former Minister of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Wilson K. Tappet. In our communication to the LCC requesting the services to investigate him on the matter relating to a pro-Lou scheme that JC have already audited him as well, we re-emphasize and call on the LCC to publish that report. So I'm saying this to say that if we normalize the needed people, we educate them, is something that is will not be a thing that we're just starting today. Requesting that 25 million mobile SSS report. So our action will be we're going to be directed, for example, to the LCC first to publish that report, then we'll embarrass them. So it's not something that is a one-day thing to say today we'll come out and we'll get a needed result on the spot. There are times we'll come out and we'll get it. So there are times we have to come out 1 or 2 times, but how we sustain this engagement is what we are concerned
I
about.
have a question here,
Mr.
James.
I don't want you to hang on for long because we're running on the time. But what I want to say is that the impact, because I'm result driven. I like to make sure if I get into something, what I'm going to get out of it is what I target. The impact, and there are so many issues that are ahead, with the exception of your current advocacy now, with the issue of Namediki, all that name, that advocacy was a national advocacy to get him out. Even Dara Dillon was part of that. He wanted him out. In fact, he began that. A lot of them. So the point I'm trying to make is, like you said, the other people advocacy is seen as they versus us because they got a perceived political undertone can be seen by the other side. But don't you I think one thing you're supposed to see, every time you stand up against a ruling establishment, you don't want to stand up against the government, but you stand up against the government and their supporters. Because we have a kind of cliche system in the country. Do you think it will not still be perceived as they versus us? Vis-a-vis, if you look at it from the perspective and say, okay, I think we need to mobilize our people. We need a program to give our people a positive understanding of what they need to do to get all of these things done right. Because there's an advocacy now on the way to bring about accountability for atrocity against people and economic violation. We are working on that. So whether you do or not, we're going to bring people to book. We're going to make sure people who take the Liberian people money tell what to do with it. You don't have to even bother yourself with that.
That's what I'm saying.
Listen to me. If you follow the U.S. congressional hearing on this particular economic war crime code issue yesterday, there was several questions asked. Are people on the ground making moves? And it was clearly stated that yes, people have demonstrated. So the issue is not about just demonstrating. Demonstration is not about numbers. Also, it signifies that people are not happy with a particular thing. I'm saying that this approach is what we're going to be using, other than the regular having press conferences. So, for example, Jala, if you are a head of an institution, you now feel happy seeing up to 200, up to 150, 300 person even your office in the morning, chanting that you should leave the office because you're not providing the needed services. I think it embarrassing you, it embarrasses that institution, and also it can make the person take action. That's the what one will be using. That's the approach.
James, I agree, and I must commend you guys for the level of advocacy you guys are doing. But like what Jala is saying, you guys are impacting change on a case basic, but a lot of times there are a lot of those things that are going with impunity or attended to. You understand? Because the justice system is not independent as much to impact the change or address the issues of the day. So now citizens have to come in numbers to demand the change. They tell you there's a problem with the system right there that we said earlier. Yeah. That is why we're saying we will have to advocate for a war crime or war economic crime, because economic crime is as most dangerous as anything is economic crime, because it seems to be our justice system cannot bring justice in the area of corruption, in the area of economic crime to our people. This has been going on for a very, very long time. Yeah, so while we support your ideology, we are saying let's go out and call for this. This, I believe, economic crime coming to Liberia, I believe, is going to forcibly create a system. Forcibly. But if you commit a crime, if you take something that doesn't belong to you, that you have to go through the process. Now it will frighten other people. It will frighten people even in the system themselves will be afraid. But because we don't have that, it's a problem.
I
And
agree.
before you can call in 1 minute, you see, we got dossier of information here to our disposal that would highlight serious economic violation in Liberia from that date as far back as 1979. And these violations were consequential to the survival of our people. So many people lost their lives and other things because of these violations. Now, the point we're trying to make here is whether you advocate or do a people action or not, whether you do or not, we Liberians, those are in office today, whatever they do, I think the year someone coming to their senses, they will be accountable. They will be accountable. This is something that all Liberians all across the world are demanding. Mr. Gray, you know about that? They are demanding all across the world. What we are saying, like your actions are good because you on the ground, do what you can do. Like when you and I had a conversation, I said, no, I'm looking at a bigger picture. I'm not looking at that because I don't want somebody to see me as somebody who has something against them personally. This is a national issue. This is an issue. Let me learn, my brother. You come in, let me learn. The point I'm trying to make to you is by the time the war crime could come, you probably will be out of advocacy. Now, the next thing you're going to be thinking of doing is, I think we have a civic responsibility to our fellow Liberians to bring them up to speed to our understanding. I think we can launch a project into schools where we start informing young people on how to choose their leader, who should be their leader, what they should look out for a leader that will prepare a future for them. We should try sensitizing the next generation. We should start preparing our citizens to be in the right frame of mind to make decisions for a righteous leader that will change their environment, change their situation. In this way, I don't think the government will hold me personal or the partisan system or the cliche arrangement will not see me like antagonizing their system setup. Because we will start, and then the good part about that, we want to start having support from well-meaning Liberians across the world. We're going to say, okay, I think this is something good. I think that says that country we need to start educating our people. And then you start getting support. And this will be an activity that will extend beyond the war crime and the war and economic crime regime. This is going to extend beyond that.
So, Mr. Jada, let me say something quick. Let us look at the issue. This is not a single government issue. This is holistic. This is something that we want to enter it to at least the economic resources that our nation have can benefit our people, can benefit everyone. You understand? So we're not just looking at the government today. We're looking at what if the next government come to power tomorrow. Are they going to continue the same trend? Can we prevent this?
Yes, so Mr. Gray, like I said, we have agreed that it is very important that we provide civic education to our people. We are aware of that, and like I said, it requires a long-term program. It's not an event, but also we as an advocate act based on current situations.
Yeah, I agree.
And for example, currently our own position in country when things happen, there are times people will be asking, "What's your position on it?" In fact, journalists will call. You have to speak to this issue. So it's something that we must act. While we're going to wait for the economic and war crime code, we don't know how soon it will be in Liberia. There are issues happening. And we must be able to raise the red flag, we must be able to erect the necessary checkpoint. Mind you, the issue of building a new generation, I would tell you that we'll even start from primary schools, start to educate them, not even going around universities, is something that we can work on. But also that does not negate the fact that we will not stand up. I'm telling you that it's going to be something different from what the coalition does. It's a whole movement, and I'm just part of it. It is not a project under the coalition. It's something that I'm part of. I'm interested in being part of to ensure that citizens.
How long do you guys expect to continue this movement?
No, the movement is going to be something on not. We see how long we're going to sustain it. It's something that's going to be action. That is why we want it to be community based. So if there is issue, for example, with a particular district, let's agree that this district lawmaker is involved in something that the people think he's not representing them properly. For example, if we have this structure in place right now, with this campaign being launched by all our colleagues to talk to about the return the 15K campaign, we're gonna even do it at the district level, right? Where citizens, you don't want to be a lawmaker. You wake up in the morning, you have over 300 people surrounding your compound. You cannot come out. They're sitting on the floor. They are not doing anything that violent, but they're telling you return the money. You cannot go to work. You cannot do anything. These are embarrassment one of cause for them, right? No one want to see that situation being carried. Where journalists reporting that Representative Jala house have been besieged by his citizens. So it's about citizen action, right? Where the people themselves in their own district they can take action. It's not everything going to be at the national level, but it's happening at the district level, or they can use people action to address it. Mind you, this particular strategy is something that we have visited Seveno in 2019. They have the Team People Action movement there. That even when they are constructing community roads, the citizen request the BOQ. They want to know the quantity of steel used, the different quality of material going to be used, and if the contractor fail to present these documents, the people carry on action, and the government intervene and will present these documents, and the people set up their own monitoring team. So so this is just an approach we want to take, that the citizen will take some responsibility in terms of how the state has been governed. We cannot continue to just leave it with them, like 103% running the country, taking money, doing anything, and no action has been taken. So that is what the citizen movement, the people power movement is all about.
So in my mind, from what I gather from what you just said, is that this is a movement that will always be around.
Yeah.
But it will be like a QA, a quality assurance of every government operation.
Yeah.
Quality assurance to make sure if you say you're doing something for the people, it should be the right thing and it should be done right. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah.
That make a lot of sense to me. And
so, for example, lawmaker
take
out development funds or superintendent taking, and the project is incomplete. You will demand the people will demand that you complete the project.
Yeah, that's very fantastic. But in as much as that is reactionary in nature, that's going to continue going forward. But we'll be dealing with the problem. It's like you got malaria today, you go take the treatment and get well. Then you go, you let mosquito bite you again, you get malaria again.
There will always be problems.
I come in. Let me get you on course with me now so we can flow. While you're dealing with a symptom, we can still be dealing with the cause. So
I agree. We're not saying that.
And develop a curriculum.
Jala, let me just say this to you, right? I will share that with you guys even before I sleep tonight, right? Immediately get off the line. Part of my follow-up project at the level of the Community Solutions Program, the program came to the States Forum. I participated in the U.S. democracy where I was trained and certified by the Virginia State Board of Elections to carry out voter registration. I conducted voter registration in almost every high school in Virginia. And part of my follow-up project I developed was project that seeks to work around something like that, where you build integrity and electoral issues with young people, right? So what I'm saying this to say that is something that can work we can be developing what I think you are interested in us working on as well. But also we are saying that citizen action will be ongoing, because for us, we're going to be waiting for issues arising. We address them as citizen action. But also, like I talked about, we require a long-term plan, how we can build a new generation of leaders who will be electing leaders based on issues, based on circumstances, based on
track record.
Yeah, all these things. These are things that you cannot deal with the current young people that are into politics. You don't see that to convince them and make them to understand going to be a certain. But if we start from primary school, junior high schools, in high schools, setting up what we call the ICE Club. ICE Club is the integrity and civic engagement clubs. something like that. That we talk about integrity, we talk about civic, and education, things like that. In those schools, it will help them to understand that we need to be elect leaders who are be able to drive the country in a new direction.
And like you said, if Legis comes out with her report of the censor, we will have an idea of the newcomer voters, and to see what group we can target
Yeah, okay.
immediately.
You see that? So,
Yeah,
for example, the program we work on in the states was that. So we created a database of young children who are some of them under 18, 16, 17, 18, so 10th, 11th, 12th grade. So immediately the system, the guys they use that they call it nation builder. It's a very sophisticated system that when they input your data into that system, upon your 18th birthday, you receive notification through maybe a text message or an email that you provide to us that will tell you that you are eligible to go and register to vote. So I think what we could do also towards 2022, we could work on first-time voter, massive education stuff, like getting more people to register, getting more people to actively participate, but providing the needed education and guidance to them in terms of how they elect their leaders.
yeah, and that's a project I think we can work on, because that project will deal with most of the problems we want to handle from the top. Because by the time we deal with the leadership problem, I tell you, you and myself will not have to be dealing with all the stress of telling people what they ought to do when we put the right people there. You get the point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Let James. I think we'll have to let James go. He have and we are out of time anyway. By the way, so James, any final word for us, before you leave, and then Mr. Jada can
Yeah,
conclude.
so first thing I want to say thank you guys for the platform once more for keeping it live. I think the 9 o'clock Tuesday I can try to cope and be on it almost every time again. It's just that the adjustment at 8 o'clock is not good for me. We look to more fascinating topics that can we can always discuss, especially issues affecting our people in Liberia. And we look to more partnership. We got a lot of pending issue. I think we can be able to cross the T and dot the I to move forward with most of these issues that we have pending and that is in the garage. We should be able to go to the parking lot and take most of them from there and be able to proceed and move forward. So I just want to say thank you guys for the platform. I'm happy to be here tonight.
okay,
All right,
Mr.
thank you,
Gray.
James. So we'll
Mr.
talk. We'll
Gray,
keep in touch with you. Okay.
my conclusion will be, for me,
Yeah. Before you conclude,
you
you've
allow him to
heard.
go, right? Okay.
Yeah. Line to go.
I thought we're gonna have a meeting with him later anyway.
Uh, all right. Go ahead. Just conclude. Just conclude.
Yeah, my conclusion was, for me in particular, we fear no man but God. We bend down to no man but God. And so, in so far, there are injustices in Liberia. If injustice persists in Liberia, there will always be a generation to fight. We have pledged our lives and everything to fight in this generation. No matter where it will take us, we will fight for a change that will bring dignity to Liberian people. And so we want to encourage everybody. I want to thank our viewers and thank the public and everybody, all Liberian, all across the globe. There is still hope for Liberia. We just need to keep loving one another and keep giving one another the benefit of the doubt to see what we have to offer for our country. I want to say thank you for viewing once again. Thank
Yeah.
you and have a blessed week.
Yeah, my conclusion is just to say that I agree with our speaker James, saying they will be addressing the issue of the current event as unfolds and so forth. But those are the issues addressing the symptoms, I'm saying, of a root cause. So while it is true, it is good to address the symptoms, we will need to focus more on the root cause. And I truly believe the root cause can be addressed by building human capacity to understand exactly what it is to be a citizen and their civic responsibility and duty. What is it to elect a leader, a good leader, a leader that will change the dynamics and create improvements in the economy. And I think that the system of government has now work well for our people for a long period of time. The legislature, the executive, and even the justice system. So that is why we are saying we'll continue to advocate for a war and economic crime court, because our justice system have really not been effective to address a lot of the corrupt issues or investment of fundings that belong to the public and all that kind of stuff. So we'll continue to advocate on that as time goes on. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say thank you for your time, and God bless every one of you out there. We'll see you on next Tuesday.
Thank you.